Hello again YouTube. I'm going to do a review on my 1993 200 TDI Land Rover Defender 110. It's got the big flatbed on it, fully aluminium, which is quite nice. So where do we start? There's a lot of things about this car that are good and bad. We'll start with the engine. This is a 200 TDI, not the V8 one. Where is the bonnet release cable? There it is. Sorry. So there it is. The engine's alright. It's a 2.5 turbo diesel, which I think is undersized for the size of this car. It's quite a heavy car. I think it's 1.5 to 2 tons. So it gets up to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour and stays there on the motorway, but it won't go much faster, won't really pass anyone, but it does have quite a lot of torque, so you can tow with it. You're just not going to be winning any races. The brakes are pretty average. It's got discs on the front and drums on the rear, pretty standard for a ute. How easy is it to work on the engine? Haven't done too much work. The turbo's right up here, everything's out in the open. There's adjustable rod there. It's actually not too bad to work on this part. I did pull the starter out, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. Had to take the downpipe off, this water reservoir off, and wiggle your hands down there and kind of get some extensions and bending parts, and you can make it work from up here. I did it in a couple hours. It's not too bad. What else? The engine starts up nice and easy every time. It seems very reliable. It's a manual fuel injection pump, diesel pump. I've serviced the cooling system. There's no radiator cap. You just got the cap is that basically, and then that's your coolant reservoir there. But yeah, it stays nice and cold. Actually, I think it's too cold. The temp gauge goes up to halfway. However, the heater is extremely weak, but these are known for having really bad heaters. This is completely stock, apart from the snorkel, which I think they actually came with them. It might be stock, I'm not sure. But yeah, I've been up to about here in water, and it just keeps driving through. Okay, next thing, suspension. One of the main reasons I like these cars, these trucks, is it's full coil suspension all the way around. So not as good for towing weight in the back, but if you can see in there, these ones on the rear have airbag helpers in there, so you can actually come around this side and, just pump them up with the standard air pump up there, little bike, and then you can, when you put weight on the back, you pump them up and then it raises the back up and you get more, so that solves that problem. Suspension wise, it's got heavy duty springs in it, so it's a little bit bumpy on bumps and stuff, nowhere near as a twin leaf spring car. And off-road, like, it's very smooth. You can drive over big articulations and bumps and it feels like you're driving flat. So 10 out of 10 for that. What else? Everything seems to be built very solidly. If you can see down there, the rear differential is massive. Very thick axles. The frame and chassis is very thick. You can put my hand next to it. I have quite big hands, but that's a big, thick, solid chassis. One thing is rust though. The chassis seems to want to rust every chance it gets. You're constantly chasing little spots to make sure they don't spread. This one's pretty good. I don't think it's got much rust at all. The body is aluminium, which is nice for no rust. However, the bottoms of the doors usually rust out. These ones aren't because they've been replaced. But wherever the aluminium will meet the steel, it will start to corrode the aluminium there. The vents at the front, they're cool. No AC in this obviously, but you open those up if you're going over 40 k's an hour, you'll get some nice cold air in your face. Have had a few bugs come through though. Another thing, just the look. I think they look awesome. Next thing I want to go over is how customizable these are. Everything in the whole car is basically, get that open, unboltable. You can unscrew the floor pans, they come out, unscrew the transmission tunnel, they both come out, unscrew under the seat, that all lifts out, unscrew this, that comes out. You can unscrew the roof, that comes off, unscrew the windscreen. You can take off this rear piece, you can take off this bottom piece, and then from there, if you take this piece and the roof off, you can get like an older series Sorry one, they're pretty cheap, but this will it'll include this piece, but it will run all the way back to the rear here, about there. And then you've got the well side tray, which I think looks awesome because there's no gap, it's just all seamless across the whole thing. And then you can have things like bench seats in the back with a canvas cover. You can just have nothing, no roof, no nothing, and drive it like that. If middle of summer, that's nice. The truck cab itself is quite small. I'm 6'2", and my head's maybe up here. That's why I took the roof lining out, because the roof lining hangs down about that much. It's very thick. The seats are horrible. I would recommend getting new seats. As you can see, I've put something to support my back in, because after an hour of driving this thing in the regular seats, my back is aching. They might be alright if it wasn't the truck cab, so you could put the seat back further. But yeah, I would think definitely get new seats. It's one of the major improvements. In the glove box, you got no cup holders. I've actually built one, it's just not on this today. Glove box, cup holders and everything, it's quite nice. Okay, next thing is seating position. It's weird, but you get used to it. The wheel's right here, you can't adjust up and down on the wheel. The horn isn't there, it's on the side. You've got your heater controls up here. You've just got air vents to defrost the windscreen, and then you've got one that comes out here and goes kind of upwards and downwards at the same time. But I wouldn't, driving this in winter would be horrible, because there's barely any heat coming from that heater. It's a very bad heater. You've got some standard gauges, no rev gauge. That one's been put in aftermarket by the previous owner. You got your oil pressure gauge and your voltmeter. Your vents open up like that from the inside. I love the handbrake. It's a little bit annoying being right there, but one click and it will just completely lock the drivetrain, so you never have to worry about it slipping. It's just a very good handbrake compared to every other car I've had. You can trust it holding a whole trailer on a steep hill without having it in gear. Another thing, transmission. You got 5-speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then your reverse is actually all the way that way and up, which can be a little bit confusing because that's first and that's reverse. There's nothing to stop it. Like, you don't have to press down or pull up like on some other cars with that style of transmission. It's an LT77 transmission, sorry. It is full-time four-wheel drive with high, low and diff lock. So that's just high range there that you'd use for driving around. Low range is up there, won't go in at the moment. And then diff lock high range and diff lock low range over that way in that corner. It works well. I have been stuck once, but it was just really thick mud and it just completely sunk to the ground because it's quite heavy and I was going quite slow. So yeah, your battery's under the seat here. You've also got storage under this seat. I assume this was a cigarette lighter that someone has replaced with 2 USB thingies. There is no sound system in the car whatsoever. I've got a speaker there. Make a little radio bracket, and then a lot of people put speakers in here on either side, and then maybe sun up the top there as well. Another thing, it is not sealed at all. If it rains and you're driving, you will get little bits of water coming down from everywhere. It's got these rubbers across here, but they don't really seal no matter what you do. The door hinges are worn out. The doors are hard to close, but once you get them closed, they're fine. You've got wind up windows. This feels very sloppy on both of them. It's just plastic. But yeah, they work well, I suppose. You got nice big mirrors, but yeah, sealing this thing up, like if you did a full rebuild and you siliconed everything together, it might be okay. But like these are new door seals and it didn't make a difference. The whole door needs to be bent and molded into this, and even then I don't think it's going to seal that well. Like when I was up to here in water, this whole cab was basically up to there in water straight away because there was nothing holding it out really. It was just flowing straight in. One last thing before I do some demos, the pedals. This one's been cutted and welded to be lower on the brake, otherwise it would be up here. It's hard to show on camera, but that's your accelerator and that's your brake. And the clutch hasn't been modified, but it's very high. So your foot's down here and you gotta bring it all the way around and up to press the clutch down. It's a real pain in the ass. I'll definitely change that. Yeah, because it's not very nice. So I'll just start the engine up. Your key is on this side, which is quite weird. Down here, glow plugs. Starts right up. Engine is nice and healthy. Yeah, I'll go do some tests and full drive, I suppose. So I hope you liked that little demonstration. It's all I really got to do around my house. We've got land, but none of it's really cool to watch on camera, I suppose. But yeah, as you can see, did go up here quite well, and for reference, there's my knee. It's about up to the bottom of my chest, the top of this, so it got up there pretty well. I had to try a few times because I fell into a bit of a mud hole there. But yeah, I hope you liked my review on my 1991 Land Rover Defender. Please like and subscribe, that would be awesome. Cheers.